Hello, world. This is your host, Daveron, aka SoLow Sleep. We are here with Black Hole Experience, the People's Voice.
People's Voice.
Who we have with us today?
Today we have Representative DA Robert Turner Jr. as well as Pastor Brandon Baker. So we're gonna hear their opinions and their suggestions, hear what they have to say about everything we have to face on a daily. See how it plays out. Every listener ear needs something to know. Knowledge is power. Let's get to it.
All right. So who you want to start with? We going right to the left. We going to the right.
Go with DA first.
How you doing, Mr. DA, Mr. Robert Turner Jr.?
I'm doing good. I feel privileged to be invited to this space by two of my young soldiers, two people that I've known since they were kids. They kind of make me feel old. I'm looking at them with all of these whiskers and stuff on their faces, but I'm real proud of the fact that they are doing something that spark conversation, community conversation amongst, I guess, their peer group and people younger than them. And I'm just glad to be a part of the conversation.
Of course, man, because it's generational gaps that we face with in Perry County and a lot of the areas, the local areas. So we feel like that's not okay. We see a problem. Let's bridge the gaps. We have to reach out to our elders. We have to go to each generation and we have to pull back together to figure out a solution. It's certain things that worked, and there's certain things that we know that will work. But a lot of us don't know our history at the same time too. So if we don't know our history, it's gonna be hard moving forward and ducking and dodging certain obstacles that we wouldn't have to if we knew our history. So those bridges, we gotta gap them some type of way. So that's why we build this platform, and because it takes a community, not just us, not just you, not people in political seats. It's gonna take. You were saying somebody gonna have to start from the ground up. So yeah, that's why we have this platform, and that's what we're here for. So having you and having you here too also is a privilege to us because it's gaps, and we can bridge some things with this conversation.
One of the things I wanted to ask is it's not necessarily a question, but it's a statement, and there'll be a question coming into it later. You talked about generational gaps. I am a product of, I guess you would call it the beginning of the gangster rap era, late 80s coming into the early 90s. I was a young boy then. I was a teenager, and I saw how all of this stuff started to begin. And as a fan of the art form of hip hop, I was able to appreciate the realness. I was able to appreciate the fact that it was music that people could vibe to, that people could actually get hyped to because it spoke to your soul, from the beats all the way to the lyrics and the storytelling.
Absolutely.
But one thing that I can say is the music never influenced me because there's a big question about whether or not art imitates life or whether life is imitating art. So I never allowed the art to dictate my life, but I think that some people have. So one of the things I want to talk about is, do y'all think that the music accurately depicts what's really happening in life, or whether or not the music has started to influence the way we live our life?
Well, I'm sit up in my seat on this one. I'm gonna be the first to defend hip hop and the art because that's my field, and it's not the rap, it's not the artist. It's not what they're rapping about. It's what's being pushed to the mainstream. Those things we have nothing. We can't control those things. That's being, you know, depending on how far you want me to go in this one. That's all a part of. That's a part of the program. And I I was influenced, you know, style wise, by Bone Thugs and Harmony, Love and the Death. I think it, you know, Snoop Dogg. At the same time, I was raised to be a thinker. Everybody wasn't, you know, a lot of people were influenced by the environment. But my dad always told me the dad'll be different.
Mm.
So if the environment is influencing, maybe I'll try influencing the environment. So it just depends on the listener. It depends on. But what's being pushed out there, no.
When you say what's being pushed out there, I think you're hitting on something. And whenever we differ, like if any of us differ on any particular subject, I think we all man enough. You know, I remember when y'all was kids, but y'all grown now. You know, so as men, you know, let's have a conversation about it.
Definitely.
But I think what you're saying is all of the music that makes it to the charts and all of the music that is being pumped out and people end up saying this is the best rapper alive or this is the best rapper that's out there. I think you're trying to say that there are so many areas of hip hop, so many different hip hop artists, that there is a plan systemically to push the most negative and the most community destructive type of music into the mainstream, while there are serious artists who are lyrically gifted, musically gifted, whose music never makes the mainstream, and that happens on purpose.
Can I add something to that?
You right? Am I right or am I wrong?
Add to that. I locked you in.
Because, you know, I'm an audio engineer, I'm an artist, I do videos and stuff. I think the main thing now is validation. Because I've really heard people say this, they're like, man, I talked about I shot somebody in this song, I gotta go do it. And they really stand on it because they don't wanna lose street cred, I guess. But yeah, if they talk about it in their song, they wanna actually go do it. Now that's the thing, validation.
Good point.
I also think with society, it's coming from a pastor side, and I've lived in the 80s. I come from there. I'm from the country, but my brother lived like rap music. I wasn't a care. I love R&B. I love James Brown. I'm born in Savannah, Georgia. I'm very close to Don James and B.B. King and all that. Music was music. Then words were meant was words. And I listened to Snoop Dogg and all that kind of stuff when I was growing up. Don't get me wrong, but I think we twisted the narrative of getting the young people to think. Like we're saying, the world or the narrative, we want them to think what we want you to think. We don't want you to think on your own. And even too, if you listen to Snoop Dogg, even then when he gets older, he starts saying, hey, it's okay to express yourself, but do it in a way it's not destructive to others. You listen, Dr. Dre, I know all these people. I ain't like them. I just don't like that sound of music. I like R&B, And so getting to think, the young people don't know how to think. I'm just telling you from what I know as a pastor. Children don't know how to think. All they know how to do is put a phone up, listen to their words. We don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to. My generation, we just sat around and we listened to all the older people. And then when I was younger, they were like, hey, you're in this room, you're going to hush, and you're going to listen. So we don't know, the generations behind us don't know how to do anything because of COVID. They don't know how to work, they don't know how to communicate, they struggle. And so when they hear these songs, they're taking that to a, like you're saying, a negative twist, and they're going, well, that's what they believe. A lot of times when you talk to the artists, that's not what they believe. They twist the narrative because a lot of artist labels, they say we're not publishing this. We need you to do what we want you to do. I'm not talking about the artists. I'm just talking about the publishing labels. They're not. They want you to. And so
this type of song.
they want to control the narrative. And I think that's as far as the political. I'm not trying to go political, but as far as political and in the church grounds, we do the same thing. Whoever we can listen to us, whatever, people come in the door. We don't want to speak truth anymore. We just want people to get a feeling. And I think that's what's wrong along with the world. I say this from a church standpoint, and this is a true factor. Go to church, not go to church. I'm just telling you like it is. The world will never get it right because the church can't get it right. And we forgot, and I'll tell you 2 artists, black ladies, great singers. A lot of people know and don't know. CeCe Winans and Whitney Houston went to the same church together, sang the same choir together. You got 2 different, grew up the same way. 2 great women. But because of society pushed Whitney, great voice. Talking about iPhone now, I wish I knew. I could listen to like great voice. But you look, see what happened to CeCe Winans, see what happened with all the record deals, and she just, wanted more and wanted more and wanted more. And I think that's what, we push, is that we just want more in society. You see young men and just want more. They want to be heard. They want to be heard. So how do you get heard? You create more crimes. What does that look like for them? I mean, my parents grew up with a single family, and I had to choose. My brother drank. I lost a brother when I was 7 years old to somebody killed my brother from alcoholic. I had to choose. Do I want to be like my brother, that drink and partied all the time, or do I want to do what I feel like I do? Now I like speeding. I like driving cars fast, because I built cars. But I had to choose. And I think that's where we're going, is that most men, most women don't know how to deal with issues. They don't know how to come to the table. And you're a DA, right? And I think
And a pastor.
And a pastor. I think what needs to happen is that we need to teach these young people. You got feelings. And it's okay to have those feelings. Let's sit at a table. And it's okay if you like rap music. It's okay if you got 15,000 tattoos on you, piercings all over you. But tell me about your heart. What's going on? Because we want to mask things up.
Now watch this. That's exactly what I was saying. Yes, they purposely pushed that out there. I don't want to call no names, but the girls with the colorful wigs and the half naked, yes, that's what they put out there. Yes, validation. Facebook, everybody want to be verified. Everybody wants instant gratification. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you right about that too. And this is why we're doing what we're doing right now, because of the narrative. And they pushing a certain narrative, so it's up. We took it upon ourselves to say we're going to switch the narrative. It's a program that we're faced with. We're deprogrammed.
Well, I think this will come as shocking to you, okay? Now I'm gonna tell the world, I guess everybody in the world, something I learned. You believe it or not, believe it. I'm gonna go in a little background. My kids, I adopted my kids. They're black and white. They were mixed. I had a father I adopted out of Montgomery. One's a more black completely, my younger, which is special needs. Get in there, trying to teach him a lot of stuff, and he's learning real fast as much as I can teach him. But he's got some visual impairments. Now I'm gonna say this because I can speak to this because my son is 18 years old, so I had to learn the black community very fast, and I had to ask some uncooperative questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? How does a black person go through this? Because I didn't know. It opened my eyes, but I love my kids. I don't care what color. I love anybody. I don't care what color you are. I always try to find that one person, one thing. I may not agree with everything, but I'll try to find out one thing I can relate to you that I can build a relationship on. I'm gonna tell you something that I learned. And I love history, and I love trying to find out the history. I like the truth of the history. I don't want no cover up. I want plain. I don't care how ugly it is. I don't care how it was. I didn't know, truthfully, that the march happened in Marion. We was always told it happened in Selma.
Well, the march happened in Selma, but the triggering event that began the march happened in Marion. And as a matter of fact, I wish we had talked earlier this week. We just left the Jimmy Lee Jackson Memorial celebration.
I saw it.
It was held today, and that's where I was just coming from. Go ahead.
Also, with that, they have the annual mass meeting replication this upcoming Wednesday at Zion Church. So that's something that could be checked out as well.
I'm once a week right now. I'm moving up here, but I can't move my son. I gained custody because of some issues. I might want to tell him that.
Yeah, you probably want to.
I wanted to take him.
Yeah.
And he's my fourth law, but he's in school, and I don't want to disrupt his pattern. So I can't just move yet. I'm moving. I'm moving to Marion.
Okay.
God told me no to move to Marion. I was like, but I love the community. It's a great community. I grew up in Barber County. And if you know what I'm talking about, Barber County.
It's a lot different from Perry County.
It's a lot different from Perry County, but it's not. Because what I noticed is that we build a narrative. We're talking about narratives. That we live. I'm telling you, we lived a narrative that our grandparents, when our parents came through, is the segregation. That you don't know much about a black person, so you don't need to get to know it. You don't know about a white person, so you don't get to know it. And guess what? We are so much alike that we are part. Just because we got two different skin colors, we all have problems, right? We all have problems, and guess what? If I didn't lean into the black community, I would never know how to help my son. And there's people out there who want to know how did you do that? I just love them. Just like Christ says to love us, love our neighbor. And we got to get back to that point, is loving our neighbors. When we took pies, when people were sick, when people were hurting. Miss Betty, that was Main Street Marion. I love that little old lady. Great lady. Talk to her about once a week. But a little bit of history that a lot of people don't know. I talked to a black lady and I said, oh, here we go. And she goes, you from Barber County? I said, I knew where I was going. Well, I thought I did. I said, oh, here we go, racist. Mm-hmm. She goes, did you not, now this is not a history book, did you know that George Wallace was not a racist man? Shocked.
Yeah, that shocks me too.
That she said he used to pick up my daddy when he was in the Senate. Well, we twist the narrative. We twist the narrative. A lot of people don't say that Martin Luther King never preached in a white church. I differ. Why do you think there was a bombing in Birmingham? He preached in a white synagogue. That people don't say that.
I want to let them kind of lead us. I know this is your show.
But I'm just saying.
But as far as that goes, if y'all don't mind, I just want to ask a question.
Yeah.
My question is, I think that one of and I just mentioned this a few minutes ago at another event that I was at. I'm over 50 now, and I notice that the older people get, the more people are. You don't know how much time you got. Young folks don't know how much time they got. But we've seen a lot of things happen in our community where people get cut short at early ages, right? So the older I get, the more I want to kind of cut through politically correct conversations. And love is something that we all need. I agree. We need to get back to loving each other. But at the same time, I think it's time for us to have some real conversations about how can we, as racist, not racist, but how can we as races have real conversations about the political and social climate in our country? You mentioned the fact that you have a biracial son that you're raising, and we're not going to get into the weeds of that. But I think that there's a rhetoric and there's a spirit that's sweeping through our country to where there's so many people who have friends that are of all races, you know, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. But we've got some serious issues in our country to where it seems as if our politics have us turning blind eyes to issues that really affect people that we claim are our friends.
Right.
How do you propose that we start having real conversations about what is affecting some folk in underprivileged or minority communities that seem to not affect mainstream white America?
Well, I think it comes to what I want. We'll talk later.
We're Christians.
Yeah.
You're a pastor.
No,
pastor to
yeah,
pastor.
Yeah. I think what needs to happen is that the churches need to start talking and start working together and start building communities. You know what I'm talking about? That is like making events and saying, hey, guess what? Because guess what? If I can talk to a black brother, and if we can go, that people see us at lunch, then people are more likely to go, hey, what's going on here? Because faith is contagious, and so is action. So if I go out and step on a limb and talk to a brother or a sister, I don't care if Mexican, you know, what Puerto Rican, Haitian, whatever that is. If I can talk to somebody, then the people start saying, you know what? If I start building community and having events and invite everybody out, then what my heart is not for any political. I don't care if you come to my church, not come. That doesn't bother me. But what bothers me is that you got the hate in your heart. So if I build something, you know, in the community and work with other pastors, and we come up with one event, and we get all these people together, then it gives a moment where they can talk. They can have something in common. If it ever seems like, hey, can I have a piece of bread? And then one says, sure, and then it gives them something else. That's a conversation. They can say, hey, they did something nice for me. I think we need to come back to the table of saying that it can be done. And I think that if churches work together, which I always hear the white churches there and the black churches there. I don't care about that.
Yeah, you don't, and honestly, I don't. But the fact of the matter is that that's a reality, and that's where I was leading to.
But if we build a community,
yeah.
if we have events, and other pastors, I don't know all the pastors, if we have events as a community, if that's a baseball game, a football game, a music event, somebody comes singing, whatever that events are, then we get more people together. And the more we get together, the more they can't stay apart. So I'm saying, you can go to your houses, and you can stay there, and you can always have these thoughts, and you can watch the mainstream media, and they get in your head. But if you listen to your pastor and he's preaching the word, then guess what? What Allah says, love your neighbor as yourself. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. If we start loving our neighbor, and that's how to start building conversations first, then I think we're going somewhere. But until we get to that point, it's just another great event. So we got to get. We had to put, boots on the ground. James 1:21-22 says to be doers of the word, and so we got to be doing what God wants us to do. And the pastor's not doing
not just hearers only, but doers.
That's right. So I want to work with these pastors in this area, not for my own self, but for the community's sake. Because it's a great town. Alabama's a great state, but there's so much negative about it. And I live from Huntsville, Alabama, all the way to Barber County. and I met some great black people, and I met some Hispanics, and I met some great people. But that's the thing, we don't want. Nobody knows how to come together, so you got to create an event so they can come together.
Let me ask y'all this: I moved to Marion from Birmingham. We lived in Birmingham for a while. We moved to Marion when my dad decided he wanted to come back to his hometown. We laugh and joke about this. I said, Marion is your hometown, Birmingham my hometown. Marion is my adopted hometown. But I want to talk to these fellas and ask them a question based upon something you said. Do you think Marion is a great place to live as a young person? And if so, why? And then if not, why not?
Is Marion a good place to live? If
No.
Not, why not?
No, not for a young person. No, it's not for a young person. It's not how it used to be. This is my opinion. You get yours too. I don't have to take that
That's
long
right.
to think about it. It's not how it used to be. The community used to be one. Even the kids, we didn't know certain things that was going on in the neighborhood or in the community because grown people kept us out of it. But now the grown people and the kids mess. And there's nobody out there telling nobody right from wrong. It leave us to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I done helped raise a lot of these kids because, I'm not, but it's not my responsibility, you know what I'm saying? Outside the crib, okay, but inside the house, it takes a village, but it starts at home. And I can't teach your child in home. Or I can't whoop your child, paddle your child at school. Nobody can discipline these kids anymore. Marion used to have that. I come from out west, so if I was in a new project, whatever I did in a new project, I was able to get discipline from that side all the way to the other side. We had basketball, we had football. We don't have that anymore. But it's potential. In the next 5-10 years, I could see it being how it used to be, or even better. But right now, no. But I'm not willing to leave my town no more because it's not a good place to stay. I had parts of, I was younger too. I'm still young, but I was younger too, and I did some things too. So I got to show my face and make it better.
That's real. What about you?
Me, myself, I agree with the finality of the answer. For a young person, it's really not the best place to live. I agree with your statements, your points of views. It's not much for them to do other than, as you stated earlier, be in the phone or listen to music and try to emulate what they hear. And hatefully, regrettably, like you stated, one of your points, not allowed to really discipline as we used to back in the day.
Say, man, we in our phone and the kids in their phone.
Whatever pops up, 9 times out of 10, they watching it, they taking it in, and leave outside the home and emulate it, thinking that I could get verification and notice off of doing this because I seen it here, or here, and it just jump starts catastrophic events.
This nigga, boy, I like how he throwing
I hear him. He said catastrophic events.
It got smooth.
This is another thing. So, as the district attorney, because I wouldn't want to come on here and just not even talk about what I do or what I see, because I think that's, I talked to you guys a couple of weeks ago on some different things, and this been working. This been in the works for a while. The conversation.
Absolutely.
One of my biggest concerns is the increase in what I perceive as violent criminal activity in the area, and the fascination with guns, and then the frequency upon which they have been used by younger and younger people. politicians a lot of times think that they have all the answers and solutions. When if politicians and pastors, if we all had the solutions, then we wouldn't be seeing the problems that we're seeing now. You see it on every level. You know, we just had a local basketball game between two supposedly great, morally upstanding schools that broke away from the public school system, and the fight broke out at that game. And I'm not gonna call names, but I think what that underscores is that we have some angry children. We got some angry young people. Where do you all think that anger is coming from? And what are the adults and the elected officials missing as far as it relates to providing solutions to what's really causing these children to be so angry?
It's not parents no more. It's like kids raising kids because they were taught a certain way, so like it's coming back to back. Because I remember like the big mamas and stuff. Like now you got the granny that go to the club too. She look better than the daughter. So it's stuff like that. So it's kids raising kids, you know, and it's a cycle. That's what I see.
And I think that what you're saying, let me ask you this. So you're saying a kid is not defined by their age. A kid is a mentality. Exactly. And we've got a lot of advanced age people who are still children in their mindset and their behavior. And that's one of the things that is contributing to what we're seeing happen. Like Malcolm said, the chickens are coming home to roost.
Oh yeah. I myself personally, I think it's layered. Dad is not at the house. Man, there ain't no stand-up guys around. A lot of us are emotionally, we're not intelligent enough to. And then right here in Marion, you know, we grew up in, nobody was getting killed like that. So even if it's 1, 2, 3 murders, that does something to the psyche.
Mm-hmm.
It's triggers something in it. And it was one of theirs. It's theirs. Like, it's not me. I'm older, you know.
Right.
It's not you. You're older. It'd be more acceptable for if it had been one of us. But when babies started, and they're all, the whole group is babies. They all babies.
Yeah, the people on people on both sides of the gun are becoming younger and younger, and I think that it's raising it, it's heightening our sensitivity level.
Yeah, it hurt them different. Dad and already not in the house for most of them, not all of them. So they've been raised off feminine energy. You get the internet, and most of the guys that we look at it, they raised off feminine energy. All that tough bravado, don't have to do that. To, you know, that's misplaced anger. That's it's not emotionally intelligent, and a lot of us don't even know what that is. Well, your emotional intelligence. What you mean by emotional intelligence? We don't know how to deal with breakups.
That's correct.
We don't know how to deal with disagreements. Rejection.
Name calling.
Exactly.
We don't know how to deal with jokes nowadays because society has become very soft and pacified. So I can't joke. We can't joke or say certain things because now you're bullying. Not to say that bullying doesn't exist.
Yeah, because it does.
It does exist. I know it does because we bullied the bullies back in. Yeah. So it exists, but it's gonna take whoever it affects. If you're affected, it's gonna take you.
Ooh, I like that.
You know, because we're affected. And our affection, being affected is going to become an infection. And it's already become an infection, you know. So we have to deal with how we're affected before we have to deal with infestation. Because only a few now but we're going to continue to get angry. We're going to be mad because we have nothing to do. Dad is still not there. And the people I look up to, this is how they move. And this is what I'm doing. So it's a lot of work got to get done.
I think
Folks got to get on the ground, like you said.
I think one of the things I preach in my congregation that I was just like, how do we adjust? What does God want to say to Perry County? What does God want to say to Perry? And it was a mindset that we stay in this mindset of, you know, I gotta live this way because my daddy, my mama did live this way.
No.
And I'm not talking about I'm just talking about mindset of poverty, mindset of I got to have everything, mindset of, and that's just COVID just to intensify that, because there was no outlet of communication, because you couldn't talk to nobody, you couldn't go rally to somebody, you had to be 10 foot, and people didn't, you know, people started. I work. I ain't gonna tell you what work. I'll tell them, but people just didn't want to talk, didn't want to be close to you, didn't want it. And so everything intensified, the emotions intensified. How do you deal with this problem? You couldn't deal with the problem because you couldn't have nobody to talk to. So everything intensified. And one thing that the guy reminded me about is Moses. Moses didn't know anything about his family history. Raised in a different way. And 400 years they were in this. I gotta be like this because my daddy, you know, made bricks, and you know, and during that moment, and God used Moses after he killed somebody, put him backside to bring people out, and say, "Hey, you don't have to live like this." So what am I saying? As pastors, as leaders, as people in the community, we have to tell these young people, black, white, Asians, whoever moves here, wherever you go to, hey. You don't have to say to what's in the same position. You don't have to go kill somebody. You don't have to talk to somebody. You don't have to be bullied, or you don't have to do that. And so it's on take a leader, because we've been through it. I hate to say this. I love the baby boom generation. Great generation. But the one thing downfall is they went through a lot. The hippie movement, they went through a lot. They went through the rise. I'm like, I beg them a lot of times, hey, how did y'all get through this? They just don't talk about it. They don't want to help. So what do we do? Are we going to be the Joshua and Caleb generation? Or are we going to be the generation that walks around the desert for 40 years?
I got a question for both pastors. If both of y'all can give me okay, since we're talking about this stuff right now, it's a solution, we just don't know it. Right?
Correct.
If both of y'all can find a quote from the Bible that give you hope of that solution, what would it be?
The solution to
what's going on now, like what gives you faith that it can be a solution from the Bible? A quote.
Can I do one of them too?
you can. I will start with one of the simplest ones that probably everybody knows. Is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And it's layered. I'm gonna steal my man's word. I'm gonna cop that. It's layered because there's so much anger, and a lot of times people don't understand there's anger behind the eyes and faces of even professional, educated African American men as well. Because one of the things, and we almost touched on it, it's amazing how the Spirit of God can move in any moment. Like the event I just left, the speaker talked about Moses and how Moses killed an Egyptian. And then as he was in flight from leaving, hiding out from killing the Egyptian, he noticed two of the Israelites embarked into a fight with each other, and he told them to stop, and he didn't know that they knew he was already on the run for a murder himself. And they said, what if we don't stop, you gonna kill us like you killed that Egyptian? Mm-hmm. He mentioned it. I just heard that, so God brought all of that. So one of the things that the pastor said a few months ago was that he was just are we gonna be the Moses are we gonna be the Joshua Caleb generation? So when you think about it and look at this thing like this, man, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right now, one of the biggest fights that we're having in our country, and people don't want to talk about it, is this DEI thing. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as a nation, there's a push from a Christian conservative labeled group that is saying that we need to stop talking about the past. We need to stop talking about divisive things. But what might be divisive to one group is history that needs to be fully explained so the whole story could be told. Amen. So that we can understand how we arrived here. And it's difficult for preach brethren to be in the room, and not you, but just in general. It's difficult for people who all say that I believe that there's one God, one faith, and one baptism. I believe in that, right? But how can I believe that when what we're living out is not an example of what Scripture says? Like, if you are proud and you want to be able to tell your children about your history and your heritage, but mine is being obscured and taken out of libraries and not being encouraged not to be taught, you're not doing unto me as you would have me do unto you. And therein lies the problem. It's like there are so many layers to what I think is going to need to be uncovered. There are so many people that could say, yeah, we'll trace back to German heritage. We trace back. We've still got family members that live in Finland or in London or in France. And I'm sitting here as a double degree. I got a bachelor's, a Juris Doctorate, and I can't go past my father's father as far as telling you where we came from. Am I Nigerian? Am I Sierra Leone? And it's something that we need to, if we're gonna be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, we have to be able to have the tough conversations. We need to have events together. I'll break it down. And Marion, why would I have an event with somebody who doesn't even want to go to school with my son?
Ooh, I was about to say that.
Unless it's on certain terms. In Montgomery, it took until to 2017, 18. I don't misquote me if I'm wrong. But in Montgomery, we had Jeff Davis, Robert E. Lee High School that were 97% black. And they were named after Confederate war generals. And people did not want the name changed. These are real conversations that the older that I get, I can't just let these conversations go without being held. Men need to be able to hold and listen to your position while you listen to mine. I can't just keep listening to positions and you never listen to mine. There's a difference between a reason that something happens and an excuse. So oftentimes people want to say that my reason is an excuse. No, my reason is a reason. I tore my ACL twice in high school, right? So the first time I tore it, my knee swelled up like a balloon, but back then everybody was like, tough, you just play through it. So I got hurt Friday night. Saturday morning I wake up, my knee big as a balloon. So evidently that was an injury, but we didn't know what it was, right? So I go to the doctor, they diagnose, you got a torn ACL, MCL, LCL. So there was a diagnosis of what happened to me. I wasn't just hurt. It wasn't a sprain, it wasn't a bruise, it was an injury. So after the diagnosis, they said, we gotta have surgery in order to correct your injury. So after I had my surgery, they said, now your surgery's coming along fine. Now we gotta get you back to full speed. There's a rehab process. So after I was diagnosed as having an injury and not just an excuse and not being tough, then I had surgery to prepare how I had been injured. And then I was able to have rehab to get me back to full strength. America doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that there was an injury.
Yeah.
The surgery has never been done.
No.
And then the rehab was never done. So what if I tried to play football the next year after just resting my knee and not having it operated on? People would have said, man, you're not as fast as you used to. Stop limping. What's wrong with you? I can't catch up because my injury was never addressed. And we're in a situation where we're looking at things that have happened years ago, and we don't want to remember some of this stuff. But until we really start having conversations, it's just like even the conversation around gun control. It's a different argument. I'm going to cop what he said a few moments ago. This is one of the sayings that I've been talking about politically in front of cameras and behind cameras. Don't wait until something affects you before it affects you.
Yeah.
Until your grandma's house been hit with 100 rounds over something that her grandson did, you're not going to understand why people are saying these guns are in the wrong hands. While I'm out hunting and using it for a sport, and I've been trained and it's in my culture as to how to handle it, because I'm not carrying around anger that hasn't been addressed. Your handling of guns is different than what's happening in the community. I guarantee you, if there's a drive-by in a white community by a bunch of young black kids, or some young white kids for that matter, and they're using semi-automatic weaponry and they shoot up somebody's house, there's going to be some attention given to that issue. And what my fear is that if we don't start having a real dialogue about where is the anger coming from, and then what are we collectively gonna do about this, then we're spinning our wheels.
We need more surgery.
We need surgery. I mean, and in America, we even know before the surgery, there needs to be an acknowledgement of the injury. Yeah, so it's some of the things that you can see, and I speak from a different position too, because I grew up here. But like I said, when my pops moved back, he moved back as an attorney. That gave me an advantage. But at the same time, that still doesn't take me away from the community and the community experience. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And I've been able to understand it. So sometimes what we'll do is, once I'm out of a situation, I don't have to deal with that no more. You know, people always say, man, just change. Now you can move out. You don't have to stay there no more. But if I move out, but my cousin's still over there, my heart's still over there.
No, pardon me for a second. What I always tell people, I grew up in Barber County, poor as dirt. My brother, I had a lot of black friends, but after my brother, losing my brother, I just forgot a lot of stuff. But I had some black friends. I was only 7 years old, so I was just not getting myself. But I tell people this, in the real world, I ain't know nothing about racism until I moved to Barber County, because once you're poor, you're just poor. You know how black and white you are. But I will say, you can move away. You can move away. But whatever's in your mindset is always going to go with you. So if you're willing to say, not willing to change your mindset, let somebody sit and talk to you, like having a counselor, having a pastor, having a chaplain, and actually sit and talk to you. If you don't want to change, guess what? Nothing's ever going to change. So you want to change. You can have the greatest politicians, you can have the greatest pastors, you can have the greatest things in the world. But you have to be the one that says, you know what? I'm not going to be like this, like you young men. You said, hey, I want to be different. I want to have a voice. I want to give the people a voice. I want to be able to help build communities. And I think that's where God's placed me here. So I can help build a community for black men, black women, young men. Because that's what I want to do, is I want young men and young women to have great education, because my mom was a 20-year teacher.
Share your word with us, because I got us off track. Share your scripture.
My scripture is, I got two. That's 1 Corinthians 13:14. Love is patience, love is kind. Love does not envy, it does not boast. It does not act proudly. Second one, John 15:13. Greater love than no one than this, that someone would lay his life down for his friends. That's powerful. I'm going to speak for the white community. We need to lay down for our fellow brothers. We need to lay down, and we need to show empathy. We need to show more love. We need to show more kindness. We can't fix the past. I'm sorry if, somewhere in my past, I can't fix it because that's not me. What I can do is I can do something nice for you. I can love you for what you are. I can help you if you need your grass cut. All right, whatever I can do to help, I can do. But a little bit backside, I cut it. But my grandfather picked cotton beside some black men. And he said, I'll never pick cotton again. Because he had 3 sisters. He had to drop out of school. So we always think, and I didn't know that about my grandfather until I got older. But you said something about liberty. We need freedom. We need freedom in the United States. We need to have a freedom of expression. Not to come in and shoot everything up. But we need to have these talks. And I appreciate y'all.
I do too.
I really appreciate y'all being able to have these talks where people can actually talk. Because people are talking in Marion. People are actually sitting down wanting to have this conversation. I'm wanting to sit next to a pastor that I just met and say, hey, how can we work together instead of how can we work apart? So thank you for hosting this event. But liberty, this is all God, because I tell you, I wrote this stuff down. I didn't know what God was doing. Liberty is a state of being free within society from the oppression of the restrictions or control imposed by the authority on one's life, behavior, or political view. That's the definition. We need to be free. Free. Because society tells us we should hate a black man. Or we should not like a white man. Because, our ancestors, my ancestors went through slavery. I can't control what my ancestors did. And I'm sorry for them hating. But what we do forward.
And I want to stop right here because, and not stop the conversation. I don't know how much time we got. We're probably out of time. But just hearing you say that is huge.
Yeah.
And it's not, and you're not the only one, so don't get me wrong. But it's just saying, I'm sorry for what my ancestors did or may have done. Because it wasn't everyone's ancestor. Mm-hmm. We're intelligent enough to know that. The stereotypes go both ways. Mm-hmm. Some people think that all African Americans just hate all white people, especially in the South. And that's not the truth. It's like the civil rights movement wouldn't have been possible without people from both races or all nationalities. It really was a world, and it was a Christian movement. It was a mighty move of God, because you had some people that chose prayer and nonviolence and kneeling and praying in the face of anger and aggression that really brought true believers from all over the world to say that's inhumane.
I think,
and so that took collaborative work. And so just to hear you say, I'm sorry, that's huge, because you're not being blamed. And so the guilt needs the release from guilt and the liberty goes both ways.
I mean, we can't move forward as a generation if both parties have hate.
That's right.
And if we move forward, and I like Robert. I can't remember his name. He was a movement in Mississippi civil rights. What he did for the black community was powerful. He bought, in the Baptist organization, they bought 500 acres of land. And they said, hey, if you just help us work it, you can keep the money. and they gave them, be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and they buy stuff. That's why I like people to be able to be empowered to do what they can, not for the society to say this is what you should do. That's why I'm talking about liberty. Liberty to be able to go to the churches and have the pastors speak into your life, and pastors you can be able to change through what God's trying to help you with, and those pastors be able to help each other and work together and all that. And I'm not into more of a socialist gospel. I don't like socialist gospel. I'm not going to preach, so I'm going to tell you the word, and I'm going to love you as what the word tells me to love you. But, and I lived that in life. Didn't know that what I'm going to be talking to, I've already lived, raising my kids. And I've had different races calling my kids a certain name because they're mixed. And I'll say one of them, skunk, raccoon. And I'm like, how can you? I've always heard the white people say, I'm like, it was hate.
Never heard that.
Yeah, it was hate.
We heard Oreo.
Hate is powerful. And so when kids are hearing this and they're watching the media and they're listening to the mainstreams of what's going on, and you got to do this and you can't do this and you shouldn't do that and you should be doing this, and it builds a resistance. And coming to the table, no matter what background, what religion, whatever, coming to the table and talking about it is a whole lot better than picking up a gun. And I'm not talking about a physical gun. I'm talking about hate. Well, I said, I don't want no part of you. And you can't fix hate. Only God can fix hate. Only God can fix hate. Because if you're not willing to forgive, and now, how's God going to forgive you when you're here? Because God said, you love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And there's going to be a lot of different races when we get to heaven. So if we can't love each other now, how are we going to love each other when we get to heaven? God wants us to be what God wants us to do is be like Him. Not be a world of hate. And I know it's kind of deep and powerful. I just want to sit on that. But what I want to do, and I'm going to speak at City Hall come Tuesday. And I'm not just going down a political thing. I want to build community. I'm not just saying this. I want to build community. I want big ballparks and ballparks to be open. Because my other son likes to play basketball, one. He's pretty good at it, being visually impaired. He can only see, doctor said he can only see 20 feet, not 20 feet. Sorry, 4 feet in front of himself. But don't tell him that, because he's going to figure out how to do it. He'll learn how to play drums a little bit. But when we start telling the young people, and the percentile, you can't get a good education, Marion. You're never going to be good enough to go to UAB, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, whatever they're black or white. And I know the percentile, we got 67% black and 30% white. Doesn't matter to me. When we start telling the kids, hey, because one black man changed my world. Because my daddy wasn't really in my life. I love my dad. We've come through some stuff. But I'm going to tell you this. I hope he's watching. Because I love him. Do anything for him. But one black man named Anthony Wallace walked by me and said, hey, young man, you sure are dressing nice. I was like, what? I didn't probably have the best. But he started speaking in my life. For that one black man, I started speaking to other black people and other kids and my kids and other kids around me. Because guess what? Someone needs to believe in them. Someone needs to tell them, hey, you can do what you set your mind to. It may take a little hard work. It may take somebody helping you along the way. But yes, you can do this. Because I believe in these kids in Marion. That whatever, they don't have to be poor. And they don't have to be rich. Because guess what? I don't want to see them in jail. I don't want to be another statistic. I don't want to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or, whatever. I want to be successful. And there's some great business people the black come from Perry County. And that's what I also want to drive into. Hey, let's build future leaders. And I see it. I'm outside in, but I grew up in Barber County. Was about the same percentile.
What's your verse, man?
I'm good.
No, you go. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
close
jump.
out.
I'm gonna jump topic. I'm jumping topic.
Okay.
Well, you got one too?
Nah, I'm jumping topic.
See, this is why I was gonna save mine right here, cause we discussing this problem. Boom. Your question was hope, right? And I saw a new Revelation 21.
Okay.
He said, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. If you don't get no hope by that, man, you know, hey, listen, I
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't do it from the pulpit. You know what I'm saying? I just don't do it from the pulpit. You know how I be stepping about God. You know how I cut both them. That's some hope for you.
That was good one. That was a great one, actually.
That was good.
Respect. Not
I
my
respect
word.
all answers.
Man, my word is the big dude word, man. That's some hope. Make me
So you
feel
gonna switch topics up on her?
Addressing your question earlier, a lot of the youth, they are forced to deal with, I hate to say it like this, the lack of, I'm gonna say it like this, lack of knowledge, fear, and anger. Because for one, most of the time when they try to go to somebody and speak, it's, especially the young men, it's, hey, you can handle that. That ain't nothing. Or
that's why I want to be angry if I do what I do.
You know, or something of that sort. But also, no one knows what goes on behind closed doors. So they could be seeing something or witnessing something or involved in something themselves and not sure how to express it or either dilute it for that matter. So is just crazy. But with that being said, I have to ask you, growing up as you did, where you did, how are you able to express to others that you may have or may not have grown up with or watched grow up? How do you express to them your standpoint as your job duties?
One of the things that I think I would say is I came up, a couple of y'all know, I practiced criminal defense law for 23 years. And I went to Howard Law School, and we call ourselves social engineers. And it was built on civil rights law, fighting for the underdog, right? And as I practiced criminal defense law, I've had capital murder clients, people that was charged with it. I've had drug trafficking clients. I've had clients charged with rape. I haven't been a prosecutor except for 3 years. And so what started to happen with me is by being in the community and knowing things from both sides. When the Black Lives Matters movement started, it wasn't labeled Black Lives Matter when Trayvon Martin was killed in Florida. It wasn't called that then. The Mike Brown situation in Missouri, we had Ahmaud Arbery, the situation that occurred over in Georgia. We had Sandra Bland, the incident with Sandra Bland. And so people started waking up and then they started marching. And so what really triggered my mind is I know why they are marching, but my education and my legal experience gave me a new revelation. The civil rights movement was a real movement in that you could not legally discriminate against people. You could go to whatever school you wanted to go to. University of Alabama, if a black man wanted to go to Alabama, Arkansas, SMU, Texas, you can go. Whatever you wanted to major in college, you could major in it. If you wanted to become a police, you could become a police. If you wanted to become a judge, you could. If you wanted to become a prosecutor, you could. But what those latest round of cases and marches really showed me is, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth, y'all marching for nothing. And when I say you were marching for nothing, it's because that march was not going to change the fact of who the judge was. That march was not going to change who the prosecutor was. The march wasn't going to change who the jury was. Because as a race of people, we have systemically started to avoid jury duty. We don't want to become police officers because we feel like police officers are sellouts to our community and they are perpetuating the government oppression upon us. We view people that were prosecutors or district attorneys as being sellouts as well. So basically you have surrendered an entire portion of your judicial system to people who you claim are the oppressors. You have no one on the inside who understands it from your perspective. The prosecutor more than likely went to the University of Alabama Law School with the judge. The police chief and his officers more than likely were on the Little League baseball team or Boy Scout troop that the prosecutor led in the community, or they were church members. So you are marching, hoping that some people will hear your side that don't know you, and their reality and your reality are different. And so what clicked to me is, since you have a perspective from both sides, the marches are crying out for you to become a part of a system. You cannot expect systems that you play no part in to somehow reflect the values and to understand your positions. In Tuscaloosa, like right now, there is an outcry over a verdict that has split a community. Mm-hmm. From what I've been told, the jury was comprised of all whites. That's not anything bad. You know, that's not to say anything is wrong with it. But ask yourself, how many of you are registered to vote? How many of you have a valid driver's license, which makes you eligible to sit on a jury? And then how many of us, when we are called to sit on a jury,
take the opportunity,
want to go and say, I can be fair and listen to the facts as they come forth? So you're going to be upset with outcomes that you don't play a part in getting an understanding of how the whole operation works. And so what I see is, being on the prosecution side exposed me to the other thing. When I was defending, let's use this young man as an example. If I'm defending him for breaking into 5 houses in his neighborhood, I'm trying to get him probation. I'm trying to get him an opportunity to still be with his little girls and his little boys. He's got a job and the whole 9. What I didn't see when I was defending him was the fact that there were 5 people, 5 families who had their televisions stolen, their kids' PlayStations and Xboxes stolen, that they didn't have insurance for, and then just the safety that they felt within their house is broken. And then my community is crying about save him, and nobody is talking about how these people have lost trust and they are putting padlocks on their doors and they're scared and they want to move out. So we've got to have these whole realistic conversations to let people know that, look, when you hurt me, you hurting yourself. And we've got to be able to understand the whole picture. For every defendant, there is a victim. And we have to play a part. All of us got to play a role in this. You know, the same person that would be on trial for breaking into these houses that don't want to go to jail, if somebody broke into his mama's house, and he found out who did it,
he be going to court for something else.
So those, you know, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like with the position, I'm taking the position as to where we need to seek justice and find truth. That's what a real prosecutor is supposed to do. The truth could be that this person is innocent. And when you find out that this person is innocent, I got to have enough morality and professionalism to say we dropping the charge. And then when the family gets upset, why y'all letting that man go? The evidence was not sufficient to prove his guilt. So he has to go. But the truth also is, if you find out that a person has done something and there's not a remorseful bone or spirit in their body, and they haven't accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, or Allah as their God, or something that will act as a moral compass for their behavior, and they are a danger and a threat to the community, then we need to do what we can to have this person lose their privilege of being free in society, lose their liberty until they understand that there are punishments and repercussions. He mentioned it. So many of us don't have discipline and structure in our lives because we may not have a male figure, or we may not have a strong woman figure. You don't have to have a male figure. It's good and it's ideal, but if you don't, you still got to have discipline. There's some strong women, black, white, of all races, that for whatever reason, death, divorce, or just abandonment, they raised children that went straight and narrow because they were good disciplinarians. Right. And so there are so many of us coming up with no discipline and no structure to where we're destructive forces in the community. And so that's one of the things that I've noticed from where I am now, is that we've got to be on both sides. Like some of you guys, some of these younger people that are growing up, you got to have boys that came up in the hood that might not have been good every day on the police force. Because if you're from a neighborhood and you know that this person has mental illnesses, they're not gonna harm anybody. But if you know them, you can say, "Hey, Bubba, man, you need to stop tripping, sit down, man. Put that bat down, sit down." You can tell him, "Hey, hold on, man. I know it look like he ain't gonna do nothing to nobody." But if you are fresh out the military, or you grew up saying, "I just want to be a police officer," and they put you in a neighborhood where everything is foreign to you, when you see Bubba, you don't know nothing about him. You just see a big guy with a bat acting crazy and talking crazy. So you're gonna be like, put the bat down, put the bat down, put the bat down. And he don't say it, or he says, "F you," or "forget you," or just turn around and start walking off without him being on the squad with you to let you know that what you see is not what it really is. You got a catastrophe, on your hands. So just like I chose to kind of switch gears and become a prosecutor, the community's got to start doing some stuff within the system, in my view, in order to bring about some change in the system.
I got a question that I feel like I definitely need to ask. You threw out a word a few times, a dangerous word, people scared of truth. What is the recipe for truth as a DA, and what is the recipe for truth as a pastor?
You just beat me to a trap.
I'm glad I did, because you be getting good.
Hey, man.
So what's the recipe for truth? And
To be honest, the criminal justice system and the laws that you see in every state and even federal law is based upon the original laws of God. If a lot of people, the Bible is a difficult document to read. But if you think that this American justice system is hard to understand, I dare you to read Deuteronomy and Leviticus. And see all other things that you were not supposed to do. And then what's worse is if you saw what was supposed to happen to you if you violated those laws. So those laws were supposedly spoken. Yeah, they were spoken to the Moseses. They were handed down. This is what God says. When the first 10 Commandment tablet got broken.
Slammed it down.
While Moses up there talking to God, the people got mad. They like, we need our own God, man. You taking too long. So they start worshiping a golden calf. So many of us, we worshiping golden calves now.
For sure.
But anyway, the law is what it says. It's prohibitions. It's meant to guide society. You know, it's meant to control people who don't believe in anything else. They need rules and regulations, right? So sometimes that truth is the same truth. It's not a it's not a delineation. It's not a separation between it. It's just saying that this is what the community accepts. Like every indictment, every time a person is indicted for a crime, the indictment says against the peace and dignity of the state of Alabama. So the law is supposed to be something that we think is peaceful and dignified. And a person was not peaceful and not dignified and going against whatever they've been accused of doing. Right? And so that struggle to find truth is to figure out whether or not the evidence supports that this person violated one of those laws.
And I think one of the biggest things is the downfall society. I grew up barely in this, you a little bit older than I am. When I was in Barber County, the first thing we did is we had discipline in schools. We got Miss White, she was a black lady. She was best teacher, one of the best teachers I've ever had. I wish I could go back and her. She passed away now, but she's a great teacher. She taught me how to read. They had rules and regulations, but the one thing we always did, we said pledge allegiance, and we had prayer. And we had knew in the country, see, I may be different, but in the country, you had to know the books, you had to know the 10 Commandments. Why was that important? Because it was teaching us don't lie. Teaching them, they used to line you up on, you could tell a ticket over here, how far we get over there, it will change. And that kind of statement. And so it was rules and regulations that, we still did, but we took that out of the school. We took that out because we thought God wasn't important. And then we tried to put counselors in the schools to make up for what we took out. And sometimes, if you don't know what to say or how to say it, how do you tell a child if they're going through? I'll speak to myself. How do you tell a child they were 7 years old that everything's gonna be okay when you lose a brother that you just on the 4-wheeler with? That you didn't get to tell them love. How do you tell somebody that? I don't even know how to go tell myself 7 years when I was 7 years old. And so, but I can tell you this. It was the love of God that got me through it. It was the love of God and the churches and people who I love that helped me through it. For we have lost our way for 40 years because we let society tell us a twisted narrative. How many people could be different if we stood up? The civil rights was a great movement. It brought the black community needed voting rights. They need that. And that's good. But what we lost is the context of the church. What should the church be doing? The church should be in the communities. The church should be healing. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm trying to figure out what we're talking. But what I will say is that there's a lot of young men, and society taxes young men. Don't take the women's heart. It taxes young men. Because if they get the men out of the house, we're in the system. We're in the system. And I got to figure out, with the Lord's help, how we touch these young men. how do we get them to stop doing what society tells them to do and what they believe they can't, they should do? How do we do that, Pastor?
Gotta give them something else to see.
Yeah, and so that's why, again, we want to build community.
Yeah, I think yesterday was Valentine's Day. I know y'all might want to show this video 3 or 4 years from now, so I don't want to date it. But one thing that popped in my mind yesterday was this: we need more sugar daddies, and we need less sugar daddies and more father figures.
Yeah, okay.
Less sugar daddies and more father figures.
But
I got one more question. I'm done with my question. But a young lady by the name of Miss Della, she was on the show. She said the church is absent of young people and men. What's going on?
Go ahead. I've been talking too much. Your turn.
Repeat the question one time.
The church is absent of young people and men.
Because I think for the young people, it's just not attractive enough. People are looking. People want to be attracted to. It's like a magnet. You see flies. Even old. I'm old. But we used to put the bug lights out, and the flies are attracted to light, and that's what the society is. We're attracted to television. We're attracted to what's going on. What can we do? And I like Bill Cosby when I grew up. We're attracted to what it looks like, but is that really how it really looks like in a home? And we need to get to the point where it's truth, and how to deepen the truth. But most young people, white or black, just struggle wanting to come to the church. They want to be involved. They want to be validated. They want to be a part of something. And I'm not trying to build a community. I'm trying to build There's a difference what I'm trying to say on community. I'm trying to build relationships.
Okay.
We don't need more community events. We need more relationships with people.
Okay.
More of crossing the bridges. Not just because you got different ideas or whatever, but listen to others, building and having ideas and talking. I love Miss Beanie. I'm just a shout out. I love Miss Beanie. She was a great woman, black lady, love her to death. She makes the best food. But I'm just saying, I would never know her if I didn't sit down 5 minutes and just talk to her.
I agree. I think you're right. We're missing men and young people. But I want to know from the young people why we're missing men and young people.
Because y'all don't listen. No, I'm serious. Like the older generation just don't listen. Mm-hmm. We are expected to just listen, but we want to be heard. And that's it. They don't want to be talked at. They want to be talked to. Yeah. Church got to come outside.
The church got to come outside.
Got to come outside.
Got to stop being in the walls.
Got to come outside. Jesus was never in no building. He was sitting around lakes. They had multitude of people outside with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't break them fish down in the building. You had to be outside and pass it around like that. You know, like church, they have to come outside. Some tables need to be flipped. It's time for church to stop being nice. Church too nice right now.
Oh, please tell me you got something for that.
Church too nice right now.
You got some?
Church too passive right now.
You go to church sometimes, don't you?
I do too.
Yeah.
I done been back in that church too passive right now. Most preachers preaching and they pacifying their congregation.
Mm-hmm. So it's going back to what you were saying earlier, like how society is.
They
so
need,
like
we got to pull the Bible out and preach the Bible. That's it. God gonna convict you with His word. That's it. True. But also the fact that,
from what I've noticed, what I pay attention to, a lot of young people, they don't feel like they'll get much out of it. From my experience, many men, they feel like, why would I choose to go into the church building because all in all, the church is ourselves. We are the church. Our body is the church. So the church building, most young males, they don't feel much can be received. Mostly, most would feel that, from my perspective, I would say most would probably feel that the message wouldn't cover what they deal with on a daily. Most messages come from the Bible, and many ministers and pastors, they would circumvent their message to those circumstances or that passage instead of conclusively revolving it around daily society. And it's not attracting men, if any at all. I mean, me myself, I can honestly say, even though I receive wonderful messages inside the church building, on a daily, I can sit by myself and attempt to teach myself how to look at a better way to do something, or overcome something, or even come up with a better result. And I would attempt to act it out than what I can get in the church, because this day and age, many ministers and pastors are older gentlemen. And no disrespect at all.
We never want that.
Hopefully y'all gonna be older gentlemen one day.
Wanna be.
That's what I'm talking about. So
For sure.
come on now.
I'm glad I'm OG now.
Like bro said, that narrative, that outlook, that perspective is different in every way.
People not scared of God. They ain't got no fear for him. Cause this nothing personal. Cause I haven't heard y'all preach. I've heard you preach. It's been a minute, but it's a lot of prosperity. Oh, you do this, you do right by God. God will give you that car. God will give you the man. It don't work like that. God ain't no genie. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it's being pushed out there. It's consequences, just guidelines, it's consequences and repercussions in there. Either you go that way, the straight and narrow, it ain't easy, but it's so much easier. The gate is wide open. It's easy to go there because a lot of people tell you, come on. Society telling you, come on, do as thou will. You do what you want to do. You ain't got no consequence to whatever you do as thou will. In church, we need to go to Leviticus. Maybe we need to step away from the New Testament for a minute and go back to the Old Testament. And we got to know it here. That's how you're supposed to know it. He's going to put in our heart, put in our mind. The babes, I'm one of them. I know what I'm talking about. The Bible has got to be taught. Strip away everything else. And I'm wrong, you wrong, we wrong. It's something in this Bible that can tell you something about yourself where I've fallen short. You know? I'm going to keep saying the same thing. We have to teach the Bible.
Yeah.
We can't preach. We're preaching the word, but no, we're not. We're giving sermons. To preach the word is to teach the word, I think. And it has to be broken down. We speak John 3:16, God he gave his only God son. But that's the only thing we're talking about. What about what came before that and what came after that? Mm-hmm. You know, I used to think ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Well, you die in your sin then. Die doing what you know you're not supposed to do, without asking for repentance. And then we're going to see if it worked the same way. And I don't think it does.
You believe the wages of sin is death, and the gift of God is eternal life. You believe that?
God,
that's what the word says.
He's the same then, and he's the same now. My big brother Yeshua, Jesus, he said, I didn't come to do away with the word. I came to fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in my church today? You preached my message today.
He said, I came to fulfill the word. And nobody that changes you don't change my word. So
that happens a lot.
That ain't what that's what the word said.
I think as pastors, especially the older generation, we become ashamed of the gospel. We know how to preach the word. I can shout and all that, but we don't know. We become ashamed when we get outside the church because we don't know. And that's where we need to rise up as pastors, as leaders, people that are faith, or we didn't rise up. You got to be a man of action. You got to be a woman of action. Because guess what? The world's looking. People looking for somebody to rise up. I was a big fan of T.D. Jakes back in my day. I mean, nothing against T.D. Jakes. I mean, I thought nothing better. But I found out a lot of stuff, and I just like, I'm moving on. I won't judge him, for what I just don't, because that's between him and Lord. But I know there's some great people out there. But I'm gonna tell you something about this, and I'm gonna speak it like Romans. I was in Romans 16 verse 6. For I'm not ashamed of the gospel. And what Paul had to go through was a lot of people were ashamed of the gospel because there were so many guys, and they would get judged, they would get flogged. But guess what? I don't care if I get persecuted. I don't care. I don't care if somebody judge me for my color and calls me by a name. Guess what? I'm gonna still preach the gospel no matter if you like it or not, and I'm gonna still love you if you like it or not. Because you know what? People need to know people need to see somebody that's willing to lay down for another generation. And I'm gonna love this community. Best community I say in my book. I've lived in Huntsville, I've lived in Decatur, I've been all over the United States.
That's kind of why Judah ended up with the birthright, because he gave his life up for his brother. Even when they went and saw him, but his other little brother was like, "Nah, take me."
Yeah, I think it cuts both ways. Like, I think, and people that know me, a couple people that know me, know that I didn't start preaching until I was in my mid-30s. But I was called into ministry when I was about 13 or 14. But I didn't preach, and I don't want any of the preachers that remember me when I was a teenager to take this the wrong way. But I felt like I wasn't called because what I saw in the church environments that I came up in, I ain't have all that in my bag. I didn't think it took all that. It's like I was a scholar, an A student. So when the preacher gave me his text, even as a teenager, I'm reading the text with you. And if your subject had nothing to do with the scripture that you started off saying that you're preaching about today, I would be in church and I would have read the whole chapter. And what started to happen is that some of the trust and blind reliance that the whole shouting church was giving to the preacher, I'm like, that ain't what this say. And so because of the fact that I didn't think I had it within my skill set, I always been calm, chill, cool with it, right? That's just how God made me. And so my thing is, I'm not going to be able to move the crowd. I'm not going to holler and go jump over no benches. And for those that do that, I'm not trying to say God gives us all different giftings and different audiences. My testimony was this though. I believe that you need to understand that there are some smart people that read the Bible for themselves, and that every round goes higher, and you've got to be able to let me see myself in your text. I got to be able to identify with what's being preached, because I'm going through some stuff. I was a church kid. Some church kids was the worst community kids, because you can fool the church. All they want you to do is to say, dress alike and sing these little songs or whatnot. But church kids still out there having premarital sex, still using drugs, selling drugs, still fighting, still stealing stuff out the store. But in order to make the church people happy, all you gotta do is come to church and be quiet and sit down and sing, yes, Jesus loves me, and say a Bible verse. But as a teenager, you go through real life situations. So you waiting for that pastor that can be able to break this word down and convict you and have you want to come to the altar and find out what a relationship with Christ means. So what I'm thinking, the reason why people don't come to the church, and then I didn't start preaching as a teenager, even through college. I did the fraternity stuff. I lived, right? But one of the things that I did, I clubbed too. I went to clubs, and the way they work in the street is, let's go over here. What's going on in there, man? Oh, man, ain't nothing going on in there, man. It's dead tonight. So do you think because I went to one dead club, I went to the house?
No, I trying to go to the
No. We kept going until we found the energy. Churches get a bad rap because it's folks that got all of these problems with the church as if you done been to all of them. You let one bad church experience deter you from going to another church. But the club, you will go to 5 in one night, including some where they may not even speak your language. You'll go into a club and they're in there singing, and you don't know the words. You in there with Bad Bunny. You know what I mean? But it's a vibe. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But with a church, no, man, you grew up in your grandma's church.
Yeah.
You ain't even go to anybody else's church.
Yeah.
And now you are saying that they all are you have listened to 3 people preach in your whole life.
Yeah.
That's just like somebody saying, man, I listen to Milli Vanilli. I listen, you name 3 rappers. I listen to 3 rappers, man. I hate rap.
Yeah.
But you listen to 3. So the search of finding a pastor or finding a word that fits you or a church family that fits you is something that's got to be a desire that you have.
That's true.
And you've got to seek it out. So I defend pastors all the time because I'm like this. I'm like, okay, everybody's go-to default thing is the church got to come to us, bro. They got to get out these walls. The church got to get out the walls. I bet if your tooth gets broken,
You going to the dentist?
you ain't going to wait for the dentist to come to your house. If you having chest pains, I guarantee you're not going to ask to get the ambulance to see if he'll carry you to the grocery store for you to buy aspirin.
Come on, man.
You are going to go to the hospital. You are going to go where you know where your help comes from.
For sure.
So the Bible also says, how can they hear without the preacher?
Mm-hmm.
So he is just like so many young men. They say, I learn more about what I'm supposed to be doing when I sit down by myself. That might just be a product of you not being in a teaching environment because you are just used to a hooping environment. So with my friends, Eric, sometimes people, and I don't mind people calling me by my nickname. They be like, hey, man, Merc, I don't never see you no more. Where you been, man? We need to get up, man. I love talking to you. We need to chop it up. I say, come to the church. I'm there every Sunday at 9:30. Because if we friends, like I'm friends, like I go to the basketball games, I go to people's birthday parties in the community. You'll see me at a cookout or something like that. Because we humans, we vessels of God, but we are still people. You know what I'm saying? If I walk up and you got a bill, you ain't got to hide your bill behind your back because, you're going to preach. But people do that. I don't ask them to do that. They just do that on their own. You know what I'm saying? They hide you still got the bill. You might as well.
I'm liable to ask you if you want one.
But it's just like people act like the pastor is the one that act different. But really, it's the people that act different around the pastor. So if we friends and you want me to come see your child score 20 points,
Come to my church.
then why don't you come check me out and see what we doing over here?
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? If we friends and you like talking to me Why don't you like hearing me teach and break down the word of God? You know what I mean? So it's a catch-22. And like I tell young men, we had a group going a couple of years ago, and I want to try to, get some stuff back started. But I told them, because we were like, man, them pastors ain't about nothing. Man, they don't do nothing but get everybody a woman. And so I like to keep it real. I don't care how old I get. I cut my own hair. I do my own shaving. I dress myself. I like to be presentable. I wear cologne. I work out. You understand what I'm saying? You are a nut if you just choose to stay home and you keep sending your wife and your children, or your old lady and your children, to church where you got a charismatic, intelligent, smart man or group of men in front of your old lady every day while you at the house sleep, smoking, drinking, watching the game, not taking no bath or nothing. And then you start being jealous, talking about, I'm tired of you coming home talking about Pastor said this. You must want him or something.
Yeah.
Bruh, you putting her, I don't want her. I already got a queen. But what you are doing is you got a free date where you don't have to pay no cover charge, no admission. Y'all can put on y'all stuff. Y'all can come in there and sit together. If you got some money to put in the collection plate, fine. If you don't, you don't have to put nothing in it. Your kids see a man. Your kids see their daddy worshiping God.
That's what started.
So if they don't never see their dad worshiping God, they don't feel like worshiping God is a manly thing to do.
Black hole moment.
Ooh, that gave me chills.
Black hole moment.
So my thing is, no, bro, I don't want your old lady, man. I done had a lot. And I got a queen. What I look like going to get something that ain't even no finished product when I got a finished product. But what I want is for your family to grow.
That's another black hole moment.
Like my family is growing. And we ain't perfect. But it's just like, don't keep shooing them out. And then when they start changing without you, because when they start flipping on you, it's like, hey, you need to stop drinking so much. Hey, you need to spend more quality time with me. Hey, I want you to go to church with me. Junior got to say a speech and he gonna sing today. And you keep on, nah. Guess what the pastor doing? And the deacons, guess what they doing? Junior, man, you did an awesome job, man. God got something. He's speaking life over your seed, and you want to know why your seed is gravitating to other people outside of your household.
By that time, Deacon walking into the car.
You ain't saying nothing wrong, though. Like,
Absolutely.
It's the truth. It sounds messed up, but it's the truth.
And then we want young men. We want people. We want you to come. We want to add stuff. And as a matter of fact, I think one of these young men said, and Pastor might even say it too, the church is trying to change too much to conform to people who ain't coming anyway.
Yep.
So we're trying all of this stuff because we're not able to see the gradual growth and evolution of what God wants order and progression to look like. And so some churches are overcompensated. Like, you know how you get the pastor that's trying to appeal to the youth by putting on some jeans and a sweatshirt, but he still got on some Stacey Adams and a hat on backwards. Because he trying to, what can I do to get the youth? The youth just told, man, preach the word, man. And then what the pastor got to say, man, you need to come up in here, man. You got a good lady. You about to lose. I'm telling you, there's some cats that's been at church checking her out. And I think God got a calling on your wife's life and your son. They've been breaking down at the altar. There's something going on. We all need to pray about it. I think they miss your presence in the sanctuary. And if we can ever get to the point where we can start having them real conversations, I think all of this stuff will kind of take care of itself.
For sure.
I would also say that, I'm going to take my all pastors. I'm saying a majority of pastors who don't know how to be real, who want to gravitate to whatever they can get the people to come into church to pay a little bit of money. I don't care if you pay money. No, that's between you and the Lord. Now, I'll tell you what the blessing upon that is, but I'm not asking for your money. But I'll tell you what the problem is, that we gravitate, the churches gravitate to the money, not the holiness. of what God is. And when that comes to the point, you say, what is that? What? Why? Church can't be real because we don't know how to be holy. And I'm not talking about the building. I'm talking about the people. We don't know how. We don't know who God is because and I told my generation, when you start putting down the TV, you start putting down the newspaper, and you start building a relationship with God, and you read the Bible yourself, and you start believing what the Bible actually says, guess what? God starts working, changing your mindset. Why is that important? Because God don't want to leave you where you are. He wants to bring you to where you know He knows where you're going to be. And it's the same thing as parents. You know, as when you're having your kids, you know, you start seeing these little gifts to the kids, and you say, "Hey, I know. Oh, hold on. Let me see if they're interested in that. Let me strengthen that up." We see that, and that's the same thing. God's looking at us and saying, "Hey, I know where you can be, but it's your choice if you want to be there or not." Just like Pastor said, but you got to come where God is.
And Jesus did. Think about it, man. Jesus read in the temple. He was a frequenter of the temples. It's just his daily, when he didn't pastor at a temple. But the word, and then the other thing too, and I tell pastors this, man, we got so many pastors that put pressure on themselves. And you're right, we might do a part two. But sometimes people be like, "Hey man, I need you to go talk to my brother, man. He out there, he need pastor. You need to go stop by the church, come by the house at the church and pray for him, pastor." You might theologically differ with me on this, but I'm a Christian more so than any particular religious sect, right? Jesus, whosoever will, let him come. Mm-hmm. Jesus didn't go about and just force miracles on people.
Right. They believe.
Like he said, he said, like he mentioned it earlier, it wasn't saying I'm going to the mountain and we're going to invite 5,000 people. After a while, it's like, hey, Jesus going to be there and we need to be there. And the multitude start to grow to where he started to have to teach from the boats in the water while the people was on the shore. He had to go into high places so that he could accommodate people that could get to where he was. And so oftentimes what certain pastors do and church people will pressure you to try to make you think you better than Jesus. Yeah. So my thing is that if you believe, he says your faith has made you whole. Yeah. In so many instances, the faith of your friends is going to bring about the healing. I see 4 of your people trying to come to the roof to get you to me. Oh, y'all ain't even got to get all the way down here, man. That's your faith. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes what we got to do is understand this too, man, is that, come out the church. But when you come out of the church, you ain't got to come out the church just throwing this cross up in people's face and dressing and looking like you just...
Exactly.
Your light
being like Sadducees and Pharisees
will attract people to you. Every now and then people like, dang, man, every time I see that dude, man, he got a whole group. They around there talking. That's ministry. And we have to get to the point where we are allowing people to be themselves, in ministry, but presented in a way that is comfortable. And then the people have to understand that if the word of God is being rightly divided and spoken in a truthful manner that's intended to edify him and draw you, then you got to take an effort to come out to where they are. Because money, people don't want to talk, everybody want to talk about money, but it's a lot of folks that don't understand, man. It's most pastors, especially in rural areas, man, the church ain't making them people rich. I mean, it's a lot of people around here, probably the highest paid pastor that you'll find around here may get $500 a week. 500 times 4 is $2,000. Nearly everybody in here make more than that, or is capable of making more than that on their job. But yet they expect people to do whatever they're expecting of them. And don't nobody want to put nothing in there, don't want to pay him. If the pastor go buy a car, oh, he using the church money to buy him a car. What are y'all? Are y'all taking care of? Is it a food pantry for the pastor and his family? You know what I mean? So it's deep, but all of this stuff is necessary conversation, and I applaud y'all. Y'all, you know, this has been good for me.
Hey, it's been quite an experience for me myself, I will say, and gracious for both of you coming out, man, because I don't know, I don't feel it would have been the same if it was just one individual. I feel that you all were placed together for a reason.
Yeah, it happened for a reason.
We thank you all for making the time.
Oh, thank you.
And we thank y'all for the platform. We need more platforms.
Absolutely.
You know, not for us to stand on, but just for there to be a dialogue between whoever you and my boy connecting with, SoLow, whoever y'all connect with need to be able to connect with us and vice versa, because we are all in this together. You know, we can't be what we ought to be until you are what you ought to be.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's one of the main things we push, aside from the fact that we started a statement we push as our branding. So we also push unity, so as well as positivity. But we did this so that purposely, if someone feels they have something they want to speak on, the door is open. As long as it's with positivity and facts, the door is open.
Not a safe place, not a soft place.
What I would, me from the outside in, Perry County, I've lived nowhere else, Alabama. But what kind of God laid on my heart is I was like, I need to talk to the young, older people. I need to talk to old people. And yeah, no offense, I'm getting there, but God said you got to let them go.
Man, people don't know I'm old until I tell them.
Well, people think I'm in my 30s. And I'm actually 40, in my about to be 46, but people don't know that. They still think I'm in my late 30s or and I'm like, that's fine. Okay, you tell me I'm young, that's fine. But what I want to see is when I was young people, I wish somebody spoke in my life.
Okay.
When I was a little boy, when my dad wasn't around. Wish somebody, thank God, Mr. Anthony, that spoke in my life when I was a teenager. Because I think I would have been lost. A young man from a different race that's speaking in my life. I mean, I had great fathers. I had uncles. You know what I mean? I was around. My dad was around. But there was a difference when my dad was really cared. I had men that actually cared in my life. And so this man didn't have to be his old black man, family, in the church. And I'm sure it was awkward for him, but he listened to God's gospel. But I want to speak into the young people that are hurting in Perry County.
Because I think we're going to go the same route. I would like to have a closing, I guess, say it can be one word.
Okay.
To the younger youth. It's somebody out there that's a younger you too right now. You too. So like talk to your younger self, like it can be one word, one sentence.
I want to say to the younger youth, no matter what society tells you, you matter. There's a God that cares about you. I care about you. And you don't have to listen to the world and say you always have to be the same way. I care about you enough to say, hey, I would like to come beside you and help you. Don't shut yourself out and listen to society. There's people that care about you. And I know it's a real strong issue because I talk to people, and I live currently in Montgomery. They tell you the greatest suicide today in my generation, or the generation behind me, is white younger kids. Because the black community, as far as I know, they're still knit together, which I love about the black community. There's always somebody wanting to help other people, but the white community, whatever, you figured out. I want young people to know, hey, you don't have to be the same way. There are people out there who care about you. And you don't have to listen to society or listen to what's on the TV or listen to it at YouTube. You don't have to commit suicide. God loves you just the way you are. enough, then you don't have to live that way anymore. And I know it's kind of deep, but for my society and the white community, the suicide rate is almost a 70%. That white people don't want to talk about. And I get this from people that work in the open up cases to see if it was a suicide case or not. So I didn't know that myself. But a lot of people commit suicide, a lot of kids commit suicide because they don't know no difference. They don't think nobody cares. And I want to let people know that 2 pastors, a district attorney, a lawyer, that we care about you. Because we don't want you to see you go down the track that leads you to harm and to harm your family, to harm your kids.
I think you were asking what would we tell our younger selves? Okay. I'll just tell my younger self, remain fearless. Don't allow your height, your color, your neighborhood, where you're from, to allow you to feel like you're inferior, because you are just as good and capable and prepared as anybody else. Watch the company you keep. Don't become exclusive in thinking that you're better than everybody. But at the same time, you are an investment. You are a business. You have a future, and you have to protect your future at all costs. Don't be afraid to take risk. Don't feel like you have to stay around the same people and places all the time. And the thing that I really would tell my younger self is don't be afraid to shine. If you know the answer that the teacher asking in the class and nobody else wants to raise their hand, and you don't want to look like you the one that's the smart one, if you the smart one, raise your hand. Don't blend in just to get along. Because if you are, God gave you an anointing, he gave you something to shine, your boldness is going to inspire somebody else to raise to your level. If you shrink back and act like you don't ever know nothing, then what's going to happen is instead of you drawing people to your level, you're going to shrink back to levels below what he intended you to be.
Damn, can I do one of them? Look, you asking the pastor the good questions. I want to ask you.
You the host, man. You the host.
I know, but
yeah.
Dang.
But talk to little you, man.
I'll tell myself, man. Nah, I'm just playing, man. I'm just playing. Nah, I think I'm on track. I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm pretty. I kind of figured it out right now. I ain't got it all together, but I done figured it out. Hold on, Trap. Low?
Oh,
Got nothing to say?
I'm still young, man.
He said, I'm still talking to me right now.
I tell myself, man, you gonna be as great as you see yourself being right now if you continue to hold on to God's hand and know that you can't dim your light when you walking with the light.
That's good. Well, I'm gonna preach that, son.
Yeah, well, you preach that. I'm on my 2%. Nah, but you can't dim your light because the light ain't even yours. And I figured that out recently. Like, you'll dumb yourself down being around certain people trying to keep them satisfied or having them looking at you a certain way to the point where now they look at you less than they looked at you before. Because you aren't who you started off being. You dimmed your light. Don't dim your light for nobody. That's not just for me, that's for anybody that see this. Do not dim your light to make nobody comfortable. It's been a good one.
Pastor Brandon Baker, D.A. Turner,
Murph.
That's it, boy. That's it.
We thank you both. We absolutely thank you both, man. We enjoyed every second. And hopefully we do get a chance to do a part 2.
Yeah, some more stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah. So hopefully next time, man, like I told him when I was approached with it, I said, man, you know, what y'all want us to talk about? Because it can go everywhere. It's so much. It's so many things we carry within us. You know, not just as brothers, but you know, in society as a whole. And in order for us to stay on track, sometimes we gotta hit one topic at a time. But I think it was a blessed evening.